and call this meeting to order. We're going to move right on to item 2, which is the approval of minutes from May 6, 2020. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Jane.
Second, Chris.
Second by Chris. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Those minutes are approved. I'm going to skip over the conflicts of interest. I don't see anything on the agenda that may present that, unless anybody has anything they'd like to discuss now with conflicts of interest. Okay. On to public comment section. Please be advised for state statute section 19.84, information will be received from public. Anyone interested in submitting public comment may do so by emailing or by joining this meeting. By 12 noon on the day of the meeting, public comments will be shared with the committee before the meeting. Be advised that there may be limited discussion on the information received. However, no action can be taken under public comment. So I think we have Dave Tiffany here for a public comment. Dave, take it away.
Hi, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dave Tiffany. My folks moved to Marshfield when I was 5 with our family, and I'm proud to confirm that except for 2 years away during college, I've lived here ever since. I'm here this evening to provide some perspective regarding the 9-hole Wildwood disc golf course, which was installed 29 years ago on the ground surrounding Hefco Pool. Back in 1988, I belonged to a group of friends from Marshfield who'd begun traveling to Neillsville's Schuster Park to use new playground equipment they'd installed to revolutionize the game of Frisbee golf for us. We were all 30-somethings, young professionals with families who enjoyed playing catch with our Frisbees, and our version of Frisbee golf involved pointing out a tree or a light pole or a weight stand as a target for the next hole. We counted our throws it took to get from the tee area to hitting the designated target. Just like in ball golf, distance and accuracy were the keys to winning with the lowest score. Plus, we learned that there was a new name for this sport that we knew as Frisbee golf. It was disc golf. The Schuster Disc Golf Course was designed by 2 young college students from Minnesota working for the Neillsville Parks Department as summer interns. Back then, there were already several disc golf courses in the Twin Cities metro area, and they suggested using endowment from the Listman Trust Fund to install a disc golf playground in Schuster Park's wooded area. When we first saw it, we found that each of the 9 holes had a tee sign next to a concrete tee pad, a tree-lined fairway ranging in length from 150 to 300 feet, not yards, feet, that ended with a metal target called the disc pole hole, which consisted of a 5-foot vertical pipe supporting a horizontal basket midway up the pole. And on top of each pipe, there was a horizontal ring with spokes that supported loops of chains over the basket. When a thrown Frisbee flew into the chains, it stopped and dropped into the basket. There's also a unique, abrupt ringing sound made by the disc impacting the chains that is recognized by disc golfers all around the world. We came to love that sound and made the 26-mile trip to Neillsville from Marshfield beginning in the summer of 1988. With every round we played there, we wished Marshfield had its own disc golf course. In the fall of 1988, we approached Bill Landvater, then Marshfield's Parks and Recreation Director, with pictures that we had taken at Schuster Park. He invited 2 of us to the next committee meeting, but at that time, no one on the committee had ever heard of the game as a permanent playground. They were curious but skeptical. We were so green that we had only had the photos and we couldn't provide any details as to what it might cost to install, where disc golf might go in Marshfield, or even the pros and cons to consider when choosing a location. Jim Wine, who was then chairman of the committee, suggested a list of details we'd need to provide before returning to discuss any further consideration of such a project. I wound up being the spokesperson of our group of 5 enthusiasts, and in early 1989, we had located a potential site near Hefco Pool. along with an estimate of the cost to have the equipment made by the same metal shop in Neilsville that had made the baskets for Schuster's 9-hole playground, and the materials needed to install them. I brought along a pole hole model. I still have it. This is what I showed the committee to help get the seeds of disc golf planted in their brains. And this basically is a 1/5 scale model. I also brought an example of what a tee marker would look like. And so at the end of that meeting, we learned that there were no funds for such a project, but we did come to an agreement that we would the committee said that if we raised half the funds privately, we could expect to have eventual matching funds in the next year's budget. So we went ahead and raised half privately. But when the time came in 1990, the recommendation from the committee was considered by the Common Council and rejected by then City Manager Randy Allen. If we wanted to make it happen, we'd have to raise the rest on our own. Well, it took another year, but we raised the needed funds, and the Wildwood 9-hole disc golf course was installed in the summer of 1991, but without the concrete tee pad. It was only the 7th basket DG course in Wisconsin back then. Today, there are 266 courses. Well, in 1995, the following year, the tee pads had been worn off. The grass had been totally made bare and muddy. That they did approve. The city was going to pay for concrete tee pads, and they were installed. And what a difference that made! And in 1995, Marshfield had the Badger State Games junior disc golf champion. His name is Jason Steinwagner, and he and his mom played from the day that course was started, and he got to be very good. At the age of 15, he made a big splash because nobody in the crowd down in Madison even knew that Marshfield had a course. Oh, it kind of put us on the map. And by that time, we had already put in another course out at Northwood County Park. But Wildwood was special because it was a place where you could go if you've never played before. If you just knew how to throw a Frisbee, it was a great place to learn disc golf. There were mowed fairways and elevation changes and old growth trees that served as obstacles. And it was just a neat place to play. It only took 20 to 25 minutes to play around. And so people would come, grab some lunch, go play around, and go back to work. It was just so convenient. Kids could ride to it on their bike. Or if they were there at the pool while they were waiting for mom or dad to come and pick them up, they could play disc golf there. So when it was removed it was Monday, the 22nd of June, we had 2 staff members from Neilsville Parks and Rec come and help 3 members of our group disassemble the baskets and take down the main sign. And those baskets and chains were already committed to being purchased by Neilsville on June 19th. Their Parks and Rec director had written a letter of saying, yes, we would definitely be interested in purchasing that. And the reason this is such a perfect fit is literally their pipes were the same gauge as our pipes, made by the same manufacturer. And granted, ours were rusty and, but still rugged. Ours were much more rugged than their original equipment. And so it was a nice full circle. And so the 9 baskets and chain rigs that had been in the Wildwood 9-hole disc golf course were sold to Neelsville Park Department, and we got a total of $450 for that equipment, and then another $50 for the sign that I had constructed in my garage. All of those deep posts were routed in my garage, and we just used post-ups, and it worked so well. But we're going to then take that $500 and then donate it to the aquatic center, and that way our group will at least have a little bit of a footprint somewhere in those that are being recognized as supporting this. So yes, I used to swim at HEFCO. I grew up here. It was just something you did. You rode your bike down to HEFCO and you swam in that pool. And I remember before it was changed, when the bathhouse was on the south side of the pool, and I can remember waiting in line to get in because there was a long line of interested swimmers that splashed through a foot bath and then went in and enjoyed the pool. But its time has come to an end, and I'm hoping that this committee recognizes that even though we have Brain Park, which actually came about because Ed Engelhardt told us back in the year 2000 that they wanted to revamp the pool and enlarge it, and the disc golf was likely going to be impacted to the point where it had to go. So we found an 18-hole disc golf course layout that worked at Brain and carved it out of there. It took 4 years to make that happen. And then HEFCO remained as it was. And so we wound up with an 18-hole, very technical course. It's not a beginner course. Brain is not the place I send people who want to learn how to play disc golf. Now I'll have to, because it's so technical, it's a little longer, it's very tight. But HEFCO was such a great place to send them. And then once they were seasoned there, they could go and take on Brain. I'm glad we still have Brain, but I would also like to suggest that we keep vigilant, looking for a place to put a new 9-hole or an 18-hole that would be considered conducive to a beginner course, another beginner course. And HEFCO is so unique with its elevation changes and the fact that it had so many old growth trees. There isn't such a place that we haven't found. We've looked for quite a while and haven't found a place in Marshfield. And so we're still hopeful that the replacement for Wildwood 9-hole course can happen sometime in the near future, whatever that is. But certainly down the road, we're hoping that we can replace it as a beginner course. But I wanted you to be aware of the history and the fact that it is such a popular pastime for so many people. We were kind of overwhelmed with the number of people who wanted dibs on those baskets because everybody has a story. You know, they each had a favorite hole. But I'm so glad that somebody from Neelsville suggested, hey, Schuster Park would be able to utilize that equipment, and it would really revitalize their original 9 holes. And so I'm very glad it worked out the way it did. Anybody have any questions for me?
Any entertain questions for Dave? Dave, I appreciate that history and that perspective, and I'll admit that I was sad to see it go. You know, like you, I grew up here, going to HEFCO, and it felt like it was always a part of that. So we'll do what we can as a committee to support disc golf in our community. in moving forward, even start looking at and considering new 9 or 18-hole beginner type courses. Whatever we can do to support the sport, I think you know that we're here and we'll listen.
Okay, well, I appreciate that, and I just want to plant this seed for you. To put in a 9-hole course would take a minimum of 10 acres, and that would be a mix of lawn and wood. And if you double that to perhaps maybe up to 24 acres, you could accommodate 18 holes. And considering that the site that we put the original Wildwood course on, when it was first put in, it was a fantastic course, and it has aged out because technology has added distance to the technology has added distance to the length those discs now fly. Back then, you were pleased to be able to just barely reach some of those holes, and now you can play it with a putter. So it's something that would have to be larger. Don't think in terms of, well, EFCO is only this size. We just have to find something that size. No, you have to find something that's at least, I would say, be better off 10 to 12 acres for a 9 and 24 acres for an 8. And that would include some wood, because that helps shorten up some of the holes when you've got trees as obstacles. And it adds so much interest as well. But anyway, thanks for the opportunity to give you some background on Wildwood 9-hole disc golf.
And we appreciate it. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. Up to you. Okay.
I think I'm gonna check out.
Okay.
Have a good evening, everybody.
All right. Let's go on to item number 5 on the agenda. That's a COVID-19 update. Justin.
I just want to get the committee up to date on kind of how things are moving along with COVID and our operations. We've had a number of baseball tournaments here in town up at S.J. Miller Park. To my knowledge, we've not had any incidents or any individuals at those tournaments who may or may not have been tested positive for COVID. So there's no news, to my knowledge, of any individuals at those tournaments that were involved or potentially tested positive for COVID, which is a good thing. We do have leagues going on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at the fairgrounds for softball. We have a number of baseball games that take place at Stephen J. Miller Park throughout the week. And we have a small town baseball tournament this weekend at S.J. Miller. The Wenzel Plaza is active with the splash pad, but they haven't done any concert series yet. They may hold off a little bit longer on that because there seems to be a resurgence in positive test cases for COVID. Rec programs are going well. Kelly can always add anything if I miss it, but they're following the social distancing guidelines. People are registering and participating in our rec programs. Some obviously are more popular than others, but they are moving along. Our zoo is operating as normal. Things are going well there. It seems to be a popular activity for people to participate in. People seem to enjoy the zoo because you can be outside and still adhere to any social distancing guidelines. Other than that, things are pretty normal here at the Senior Center. We definitely do not have the number of seniors or the activities that we had pre-COVID. Participation is much lower. I think a lot of the seniors are conscious of COVID and are respectful of each other. We do have, activities here, and the seniors, I would say, are participating, are using face shields and hand sanitizer and things of that nature. So things are going well. Kelly or Ben, did I miss anything?
Nothing on my end. Our exercises is for the seniors. That's probably our biggest comeback from the Senior Center. Otherwise, there's about 12 to 14 people who are playing cards any given day. Some days much smaller.
Okay.
I think
Any
Ben's trying
questions
to
for
connect.
Justin on COVID-19?
Ben, are you trying to connect there? I think he's not connecting. Anyway,
I just had one thing that I noticed at the Welcome Center, which is amazing, and my kids love it. We have any hand sanitizer for that area?
it's a good question. We do have hand sanitizer. We just maybe don't have it out, but we can put some stuff out.
Yeah, but I was there twice. There was nothing in or outside the doors. I guess I was picturing that there might be, something hanging on the wall, either inside or outside the door.
Those units are very difficult to come by, but we can definitely do like the pump little stuff. We can put those in there.
Cool. Thank you.
Ben, did you hear that? I can't tell if Ben's froze or not, but we'll make sure Ben gets that
I did make a
information.
note of it, Justin.
Somebody nudge Ben, he's frozen.
Kelly, you made a note of it? Okay.
Yes, I did. You'll get it tomorrow.
Oh, there's his ear.
I see his ear now. All right.
We'll skip that. We'll get him later.
Let's move on to the 2021 fee schedule. Justin.
You guys should have received it. Hopefully you had a chance to review it. Each July we send this out for review and approval by the committee. This year, a number of programs and activities and services did increase. Our budget forecast for 2021 looks to be bleak. So we are suggesting increasing many of the fees that we offer. A lot of them have not been increased in many, many years, like Wildwood Station and our shelters. I can't think of the last time it's been probably over 10 years since many of those have been increased. Some are rather new, which we didn't increase, which is the Second Street Community Center. We're only in year 3, so we felt it was probably a little too premature to increase those. And we really don't have the demand. We do have, it's being used, but not like Wildwood Station and some of our other buildings. It's quite a lengthy document, anywhere from not swim lessons, but from aquatics to recreation to rental facilities. It kind of includes everything. I want to make one note that we did include more programs and services with non-resident fees, and that's an attempt to try to collect more money so the taxpayers don't have to support the non-residents as much. Kelly or Ben, did I miss anything? Ben's probably still frozen, but Kelly, did I miss anything?
There's a couple things under the youth hockey where the fees were increased, but that's not set by us, that's set by the Hockey Association. So those fees that are under 2020 really need to be carried to 2021 because we have not spoken with them about increasing, and that the amount that they charge comes from their board. We just use their facility.
Okay.
One thing of note, we did add what we call like a special event equipment fee, and we do have that list under here. It's towards the end called Parks Miscellaneous. That's something we started 2 years ago, and it's now in here, so it's kind of all encompassing of all of our fees and charges.
Okay. I'll start discussion out if you don't mind. I think that like most of this looks reasonable. I see some big jumps where, we didn't have non-resident fees prior where now we have non-resident fees. And I think that's appropriate. And, especially if you take into consideration the budget concerns. The one thing that stands out to me, of course, I think is the daily pool pass, where we're going from, and I understand we have a new pool by the time this takes in effect, but we're going for a resident fee, we're tripling the admission fee. I did some checking around central Wisconsin and north central Wisconsin as far as what these new aquatic centers are normally charging people. This seems to be a little bit more than what I'm seeing out there. And I'll give you, for instance, think the Rapids, the new pool in Rapids, I think it's $4 for a day pass, where here we're going to $6. So we're going from $2 to $6, and from $3 for non-resident to $9, basically tripling it. I think the concern I have is the comments I've heard in the community well before this. I mean, this isn't public knowledge yet, but it has always been, yeah, you're putting a new pool in, but am I going to be able to afford to send my kids there? And I think, with us, considering this to be an inclusive and all-inclusive type of pool, both all ages, all incomes, when we designed it and we took all that into consideration, I just think that's excessive.
I will second that completely. I also did research, and $9 would be the highest in the state for any aquatic center that I was able to research. And yeah, the cost, I mean, on average is $4 if you had to go all over. And I know I had mentioned this to Kelly, and I've mentioned this to Justin. Are we at that point where I've talked to a lot of non-residents, those in the surrounding areas, Stratford, Loyal, Spencer, Greenwood. We want to encourage them coming to our community, or are we going to push them to Wausau and Forest? I'd rather them come to Marshfield.
Yeah, $9 is high. I'm not sure I'll pay that to go in there. I'll agree with that. And I don't know, what other, I guess I didn't look at the non-resident fees at other facilities, if there was a difference there. I don't know what the area is doing for that, and I'm completely willing to look into that. But I just think we need to, take another look at this and, maybe add it as a separate agenda item, even, and talk about it after we had a little bit more time to research it.
So,
Justin, quick question. Where did you guys come up with all the fees? And you obviously didn't just throw a dart on the board. What was your
We
history
looked
of figuring out
at fees throughout central Wisconsin in the last 3 pools that Ayers and Associates were involved with. And we thought this was, the $9 is probably high for a non-resident, but it's 1.5 times. So it's just a multiplier of whatever the resident is. So we didn't really, the non-resident rate is just a reflection of whatever the resident rate is. So it's a default. So maybe the $6 was too high, maybe $5 or $4 would be more suffice, but it's up to the committee on throwing those options out there if they want to. It's always at the discretion of the committee. It's staff's recommendation and your guys' eventually opinion and approval. But we could also table it and bring that item specifically back to the committee. Whatever you guys want to do.
Here's the thing. It's a brand new pool, right? I don't know, what kind of analysis we've done on, what we're going to expect for, people in attendance, and you throw that in on top of the fact that there's going to be different operational costs, right? So it's almost like we have to maybe consider operational costs into this, and we do have some new streams of revenue that we didn't have before with this pool. I think the admission will go up. I do. I think we have concessions, which will be a new stream of revenue. Not sure if that's going to be a direct stream to the city, or if that space will be leased to a third party to run concessions. But it's a new stream. So I just think we need to, I think it's big enough to where it should be a separate, and I'm not set on that, but I welcome anybody else's opinion. It should be a separate agenda item.
So John, this is Chris. I'm fine with it being another agenda item at a future meeting. Like you, I'm looking at the Weston Aquatic Center webpage, and it looks like they have a $4 entrance rate, which to me seems like a really good price point. You're right, there's a bunch of operational things that have to be put in to consideration in the background, but one of the advantages to having a public pool is that you can literally send your kids for a few bucks that you've got in your pocket down to it. I think keeping the resident rate under $5 would be a good strategic move for us. I think that would make sense. And to keep it on par with what we have in nearby communities like Weston might be a good strategy.
Okay.
Would the group just like to see it move to $4, or would you like it to be brought back for discussion? Or is there other fees in there that you guys want to see explored further?
But Justin, that impacts your operational budget, correct?
Yes, we have to prepare that operational budget by the end of this month.
I do like the $4. I like the $4 price point for the residents. The thing I don't know is the non-resident fee. I'd like to do some comparisons out there. I didn't look into that piece of it. So I mean, we could actually table the whole thing and bring it back unless you're under a time constraint for the budget, Justin. Or we can just pull those things out and make it a separate agenda item.
I have to ask Kelly. Kelly, did we charge a non-resident rate at HEFCO before or no?
Yeah.
Yes, we do have a non-resident rate that we charge at HEFCO.
For the daily?
Number of people really truly paid the non-resident rate were not that great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But on the face value, it looks like we're charging non-residents. Whether or not they lie or cheat the system, whatever they have to do. Yes, I understand. Yeah, I understand that. But okay.
Yeah. Let's. Can we table the whole thing? Do you have can we table the whole schedule? Quentin?
We'll have to forecast the budget for revenue for our city operations and present that to city administration by the end of the month.
Oh, okay.
I would like it. We can definitely table it. It's a guessing game because we really don't know what attendance will be next year or other revenue streams. So we're probably fine tabling it, but it looks like we'll base most of this stuff off of a $4 admission fee for our budget. We could bring this back for the month of August for discussion and approval.
Okay.
And Justin, that'll affect the full season pass and everything too, right? You have to adjust all that, right?
We can adjust those if they're out of, if you want to feel they're out of line. We did do an analysis and everybody is different. And some, Weston charges $4 for a section and you have to call and reserve a time with Weston because of COVID. A lot of these organizations have changed the way they operate as a result of COVID. So things are kind of strange. But yes, back to your question, Quentin. They all kind of tie together. At least our budget will. But once again, we don't know if we're going to have 6 times as many season passes or 3 times as many, but we're going to have to forecast something.
The one thing I'll note, though, on the season passes, Quentin, is they're a little more relational. If you look at this, they're basically doubling where, that daily pass is tripling.
Right.
And if we went to $4 on the daily pass, that would be a doubling. So they look to me to be pretty decent. Okay. Do I need an action to table or no?
I don't think you need an action to table this. You could approve the other stuff, but not the, I guess would be the aquatic section, probably the easiest.
Sure. I will make a motion to approve the fee schedule minus the aquatic section and tabling the aquatic section until next month. Can I get a second?
I would second that.
Like Quentin Beach. Okay. Any other discussion, questions? Okay, all in favor of that motion? Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that motion carried. Thanks, guys.
Before we go to the next item, I just want to clarify so I make sure staff comes back prepared. You want to look at all of them or just mostly fees related to the new pool?
It's really fees related to the new pool, Justin. I just thought it was easier to pull out the aquatic section.
I agree. I just want to make sure
Okay.
there's nothing else so we don't
Yep.
fail in preparation for our next meeting.
Yep, exactly. Yep. All right. I appreciate you working with us on that. It just jumped out at me a little bit. Okay. We are on to item 7, which is policy 6.340, Prashik Wayside sign relating to community organizations. Justin.
As you probably read from my memo, this is no longer into effect. We don't have community signs at Project Wayside. The groups don't have an interest. They've been taken down many, many, many years ago. So this is an old policy. My recommendation is just to delete the policy, but keep it on file for future reference. So if it comes back for discussion on another generation, at least they'll have some historical reference to what was done before.
Okay. That is a recommendation. Can I get a motion on that recommendation?
I'll go ahead and motion to approve that.
I'll second.
Randy?
Yeah.
I missed the second. I'm sorry. Was that
Okay.
you, Steve? Okay, thank you. Okay, then we have a motion and a second for the policy to be deleted and only to be kept for information on file. Any other questions, discussions on this? Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. That's the easiest one we've ever had, Justin.
I know. The next one looks like it's going to be a little longer if you haven't looked at it yet.
Okay, we are on to item 8, which is policy 6.350, trail system management. Justin.
Yeah, so I believe this was developed back in the day when we were developing most of our trail system to kind of get a better understanding who had what responsibilities and what were their roles. This is all encompassing from development services to Board of Public Works to actually Parks and Rec and Common Council. Over the next 30 days, we'll review this information with those various departments to see if those roles have changed or have expanded, and then what we may need to add or change, because just like some of the approved uses or apparatuses, there's now more electronic devices that are used, whether it's on sidewalk system or trail systems. Plus, we should probably communicate with the police department to stay consistent, whatever they use for what they allow, I guess, on sidewalks. Because like those, I forget what they're called, those electric scooters, the Jaybirds or something like that. Those are quite popular now, and I see even electronic bikes and electronic skateboards are more popular now. So I'm not quite sure what is allowed or not allowed. My kids, unfortunately, have the old school pedal bike and still got to do it the way I did when I was a kid. But we're going to review this. But if anyone has questions or comments that they may have seen already or any direction they want to provide staff before next month, you can address it now or anytime over the next 30 days.
Okay. Anybody have anything to add to this right now before we do the review next month? Anybody see, I saw somebody riding, it looked like a skateboard with a single wheel in the middle.
Right.
I saw that. They were
It's
riding down
electric.
Veterans Parkway one morning,
Man,
right?
that thing looked cool. I looked that up and it was like $2,900 or something ridiculous. Yeah, pretty cool though. All right. We are on to the report section, item 9 for recreation. Kelly.
I just bring up my stuff.
All right.
So interesting summer. We did start baseball, our 3-sport ball. We did change it this year. Rather than just being kids themselves, 4- and 5-year-olds, we had asked a parent to come with the child, and that has worked out very well. And actually, I think you'll see us in the future offering that as a parent-child program, more teaching the parents how to interact with their child in some of the sporting activities. So that has worked out well for us. Our rookie league and our AAA, I think, Both of them kind of started out with the fact we'd like the parents out there to just make sure we're social distancing. The AAA, the first night parents were like, I am fine with my child. We don't need to be out there. The Rookie League has, some of the parents are out there and some of them aren't. So that's gone well. We did start a flag football program. When we started it, we had 8 children. By the time the second week started, we had 20. So I think word got out. Parents are starting to become a little bit more comfortable with things. We will start a tennis program here next week. I know they started tennis camp last week. Numbers are down for that as well from the prior year, but that's kind of the way most of our things are. Which is okay. It's good to have a small group of people that are comfortable with things. So, and we will be sending out information for our adult volleyball leagues to see what they look like in the fall here in the couple weeks.
Okay. Questions for Kelly?
Nope. The only other thing I have is that activities at the high school, we thought we could get back in like July 7th was the first, and the school board has made the decision they are not going to let any outside group for right now into their facilities. So early relapse swim and our aqua size class that was happening, both of those ended up being canceled. And I haven't heard yet from Nathan, but I'm thinking our fall programs will be the same way, that they will not be letting outside groups into their facility with, especially if they let students back in. So.
Okay. Thank you, Kelly. On to item B, Parks and Zoo. Ben? We might not have Ben. Are you on mute? Frozen again. Justin, can you, there we go. Can you cover for Ben?
Yep. Can you guys see the screen okay?
Yep. I can see it.
Some bike racks were installed at S.J. Miller Park. A few activities have gone on there. If you look right to the left of that rack is that fix-it repair station that the Friends of the Trails put in. And then a little bit farther left is actually a trail sign that was put in. That was a Leadership Marshfield project that kind of shows the entire city in a trail system. And on the other side, it shows the downtown area and how to get downtown. So those are 2 new things added to S.J. Miller. Some repairs to Weber Art. This is kind of, believe it or not, you guys know where Dan Umhafer is. Right behind his house, we've had washouts of this area quite often. So Ben and his staff were able to put in some culvert and some asphalt.
Hey, Justin, are you meaning to show those in full view, or is that just me that's not seeing the? I'm just seeing the thumbnail.
Can you guys not see my?
Just the
I only
thumbnail.
see the thumbnail.
Wait a second.
I'm sorry.
I'm glad you said something because I didn't.
Yeah. It's getting a little hard to see the 1-inch picture there.
How about that?
That's good. Now we're seeing the trail map.
Yep. You see this next one?
Yep.
Only show you that trail map.
There it is. We're good.
You can see the asphalt?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this one?
Yep.
Okay, good. My first time sharing my screen. All right. I was over to the other trail section that Ben and his staff worked on, which is the Wildwood Station, which is just off of Lincoln, and right up there is Adler Road. We always had some water running over the asphalt in this area, and it iced over and muddy, and it became quite a mess. So Ben and his staff did some repairs this spring, and now there's new asphalt and some underlaying culvert. That'll be a nice addition. This is some old guy mowing in the zoo with an old pickle mower. That's my dad. I think Ben had some troubles with his tool cat brush blower, so they called in the reinforcements of an 80-year-old guy on a 1933 Alice Chalmers. So he mowed the hay fields in the pasture this year.
You never know where you're going to see Daryl come up next, you know?
Yeah. You guys probably saw it if you drove past Hefco. Most of those big mature trees were cut down. The wood is being harvested and repurposed for city purposes. And we have a miller out of Auburndale doing that work. But it's, to be honest, it was quite sad to see the trees go. But and a year from now, everyone will be kind of forgetting about it when we look at the brand new facility. But this is a lot of the work. And Ben and his staff took down all of those trees. Wow. I believe he was out there for probably a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, removing all those. This is ditching work that they're doing around the drive-through area of the zoo. Water is becoming quite an issue, so we teamed up with the street department, and they're helping us get our ditches cleaned up in and around the zoo. That's Ben's vacation, I think. And I guess he's saying he was tested positive for corona that weekend. Ben, I'm gonna stop sharing. Ben, I don't see his picture, but I don't know what happened to him. But I think that's it. Kelly, do you have the report in front of you? Did I miss anything that was on his report?
I do have it. Let me just bring it up. You talked about the 3 baseball tournaments.
Yeah.
Bring up for the one this weekend. Court 8 pads at Max softball fields for warm-up areas. Glued down turf. Prepared turf areas surrounding new batting cage at Max softball. Aerated softball fields. The outfield green fence repairs at S.J. Miller. Netting repairs on Reese Field. Fencing, GP, Olson backstop. East and west, it looks like. Installed new home plates on Lee, GP Olson East and Hackman. Installed new pitching rubbers. Installed fence guards on Lee Field. Weeding, summer Japanese beetle grub control at Lee, Hackman, and Figgy Field. Special events, the 3 tournaments, and then the 4th of July fireworks at the fairgrounds. Master gardeners have been maintaining the Wildwood Park and Zoo and the fairgrounds. Gazebo, Bridget O'Brien coordinated efforts to pull garlic grass or garlic mustard again. Restrooms and playgrounds are open and being sanitized daily. Celebration benches were installed. One on the Wildwood Station Trail and the other in the zoo. Staff annual performance reviews were completed. The Upper Pound Road repairs are being worked on, which we talked about. And then there was forestry. Completed ash injections, treated 157 trees, street and park trees, with an average diameter of 17 inches. Started and completed tree removal project at the new aquatic center. And then zoo, this is they're back open 7:30 to 7:30. The welcome center is open during the same hours. They did hold a zoo camp that they had. We had originally said 10 kids. We then, after we met, decided to allow it just for 5 to open it up for a smaller group. And that went well. And I believe they have one starting here on the 13th, another one that we will be having just 13. They did also hold an adult zoo camp. And I think they have another one coming up on July 21st, maybe, those 2 weekend ones. They've been monitoring the prairie dog colony over a year. The population has declined to just an animal or 2. There are several possibilities for the cause of the decline: genetic bottleneck, disease, weather could be playing a factor. So somebody is studying, and they're doing summer internship is looking at the prairie dogs. There was a summer internship that was accepted by a UW Stevens Point student, and then the mowing of the pasture.
Questions for for Ben, Drew Kelly, or Justin? The one thing I wondered about the prairie dogs, and I heard a comment on this too, and I wasn't aware of it. Is there, can we get a communication out, or has there been a communication out to the public on what's going on with them at all? Because they're kind of a popular exhibit.
I will follow up with Steve on that, and if there hasn't been, we'll get one out.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other questions. Anybody else? Okay, on to item D. Amy's not here, but Justin, are you covering her?
Yeah, I can cover. We had 12 services in May, 25 services so far in June. Obviously, mowing has been going on for quite some time. Boy Scouts set flags on May 23rd for Memorial Day. The Memorial Day parade did not take place, but there was a little bit of a ceremony that took place at the cemetery. We did have columbarium bid opening. It was awarded to Cold Spring. They have started construction on the columbarium. They're also working with the Lutheran and Catholic cemeteries on their construction too. So we're actually up there. There's 3 columbariums going up this year. A lot of pruning of trees, straightening of headstones, and things of that nature. So the cemetery has been quite busy the last 2 months. I'll take any questions you may have or pass any comments along to Amy and Dan.
Anyone? Okay. Moving right along. Thank you, sir. On to Director. Justin.
All right. Big news, Marshfield Outdoor Aquatic Center. We had our groundbreaking ceremony today. Happy to announce the name is Van de Hey Waters. John and Annette Van de Hey and their family gave the naming rights contribution to the project. So today was the unveiling. It was extremely hot. I think everyone did a wonderful job of keeping their comments relatively short. We were able to get through it in a reasonable amount of time. We had as much shade as we could get there. The ceremony was really well received. We are collecting bids right now. They were due yesterday. So we're going through them, verifying the amount, double checking things, doing references, and we'll probably be taking that to the next Board of Public Works meeting, which is scheduled for July 20th. And then it'll go to the council the following week. And then hopefully there's some construction activity down there in August, and we're on our way to building a brand new pool. The CIP process, which is our capital improvement program, has started. We do have another meeting scheduled, I think, next week to discuss it a little bit more, to finalize those things. The Fairgrounds Management Agreement was approved by I believe, the Fair Board, as well as the Fairgrounds Commission, so that needs to go in front of the Common Council, which I would assume will be at their next scheduled meeting. The Second Street Community Center, we did do some improvements in the Drendel room for acoustics. I think we need to add some more stuff. It still has quite an echo. We unfortunately lost the air conditioning unit. It was original to the building from 1984. We're looking at replacing that unit, and hopefully you can get it replaced relatively soon. So it's a little sticky in some of the rooms around here. Other than that, I've been just busy trying to collect as much donations and contributions for the pool to make sure we have enough money to move forward with all of our plans for the project. That's all I have.
A lot going on. Well, there was one thing on here, Adler Road Trail Project?
That was just so everyone knows, there was an awarding of a grant from the DOT for that project to take place, I believe, in 22. So
we got it?
Just left. Yeah, we did receive the grant. It's a 80-20 grant. So we're hoping that we can get moving on that and complete it in the near future. So that will be led up by our engineering and our public works department.
We're talking from Sycamore all the way out to Weber Park along Adler Road, which is, I think, one of the most needed sections of the city for a trail.
Ideally, I would like to then connect Weber Park all the way down to the UW Arboretum Trail to get over to Lincoln. That would be a really nice circle. People prefer to travel in a circular pattern.
The piece of that too is, I attended that public meeting on that, Justin, and I heard a lot of positive comments from neighbors along that route. Like people where their property would be affected and nothing but positive comments. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a well needed. It's been on the CIP well before I came, and I've been here for 5 years. It's probably been on there for maybe 10 years. So it's just been a slow process. Some of these trail projects are just that way.
Do we have any other questions for Justin? I've only got one more, and then I'll be quiet. So I get these questions all the time about kind of the layout of the pool. And I know Justin sent over the design, but it was really hard for me to tell the layout. And I just wondered if you could generally describe, where is the building going to face, the front of the building, which direction is that going to be facing? Because I'm getting questions from people, and I'm curious myself as to what the layout's going to be.
All right, let me see if I can kind of pull it up on my screen and share it, and we can talk through it. Give me a quick sec to see if I can find.
Sure.
John, when he pulls it up, I can just quickly tell you that the bathhouse will be facing, the building will face exactly the way that the bathhouse faces now.
Okay.
It'll be in that same area vicinity. I don't know exactly where. Parking lot then out in that area, kind of where you drive in or drive out. Justin's going to pull it up. But then as you walk out of the so the motel is at the very north end of that parking lot.
Okay.
That hotel is at?
Mm-hmm. Yep, the motel's right here. Does everyone see the screen, first of all?
Yes.
Yep, I can see it.
All right, so the motel is right on the north end, as Kelly was saying. We have the mobile home park kind of over to would be the northwest corner. This will be the new entrance coming off of Rodis. There's actually going to be two entrances. It's not reflected on this map, but this road will go directly through all the way to Central Avenue. There'll be a second entrance off of Central Avenue. The main reason for that is because we need to be able to get our fire trucks in there, and the parking lot will not allow the fire truck to turn around and leave if they have to. So we actually have two entrances now, one off of Central and then one off of Rodis. So the parking lot's kind of in the same area that it currently is right now. It'll be just bigger. And then there's a little drop-off area, a little horseshoe-looking drop-off area where you can drop the kiddos off, and then they can enter into the bathhouse itself. Our entrance is right in the lobby, and then they'll go into the lobby and then out back, enter and exit through the lobby. We don't have a direct exit onto the pool deck. That's a kind of a new trend, so we can see who's coming and going in those bathrooms. That way staff can monitor that from just one single point of entrance. Over to the right, or what I would consider the east side of the building, is the mechanical end of it. And that's where obviously pumps, filters, heaters will be. There'll be two locker rooms and a lifeguard room up front. And then on the west side, on the left, that's where our concession stand will be. And then just outside the concession stand, this is where all the tables and chairs will be. And then this is where that reservable shelter is. And then just outside of that will be the game area. In this game area, we'll have concrete games, cornhole, ping pong, and foosball. Those are kind of some games that came out, and they're permanent concrete, so they'll stay out there all year. But the kids will have to come and get the bags from staff, or check them out, or rent them, whatever we want to do. And same with the foosball ball. and ping pong and paddle. So there'll be kind of either a revenue stream for that, so they check it out, or they rent it or do something. So we need to have some sort of insurance plan that those things are returned back to the counter that they came from. So I think Burlington does that. I will have to check with them on what they do to make sure that stuff ends up coming back. In the middle is what we consider the family pool. This is the zero depth entry area, the play structure, the lazy river, and then there's kind of 2 lap lanes here. And that lap lanes help get it a little bit deeper, because right here are the slides. So the slides will empty into this little rectangular area on the very south end. There's a number of shade structures through here. It's kind of first come, first serve. And then 3 larger shade structures over here. And then this is kind of the high dive area. We'll have a rock wall over here, basketball hoops. This is our deeper area, probably for older kids. So we have 2 water vessels right now. And then there's a large amount of grass space that people can spread out on. And then our fence is put way far back to make it look more spacious. That way the fence is not right on the concrete. We'll have the grass and landscape beds irrigated, so they'll always look green, and the mowing will be bagged and hauled off. But overall, this is the layout. I hope this answered a few questions. I do have a lot more pictures, but I don't want to bore you to death with all of them.
Yeah, it does answer. It looks like to me like the pool is actually closer to Central Avenue too.
It is technically closer to Central, not by much, but the fencing and the green space and the concrete might be. I don't know if the actual water is, but you'll feel closer.
All right, cool. Thank you. I appreciate it. Any other? The other thing I learned is I thought those slides would be kind of self-contained vessels, but it looks like that you will go into that main pool there when you land, right? And you could do it both ways.
Yeah, one of the things that we needed to do was find ways to make sure we were within that budget number of $6 billion. And one cost-saving measure was to have them empty into that body of water. If we would have separated those slides and have them separate completely, we would have had a whole new system. So this was just a cost-saving measures. The slides themselves are relatively the same. It's just whether you end up in a body of water or just in a self-contained area. So that's one small change we made.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. We are on item 10, which is our next meeting, 5:30 Wednesday, August 5th. Let us know if you can't make it. I think we're probably going to end up keep on doing the remote unless I hear differently from the group here. I have no problem with doing this remote. And with the rising cases that we're seeing in the state, I think it's the right thing to do for us anyway. So
I agree.
Okay. All right. Let us know if you can't make it. Item 11, I entertain a motion to adjourn. That's Quentin. Second by Randy. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.